Hello again. This is Greg again with part 3 of the object orientation tutorials on C Sharp. Today I'm going to go over interfaces and repositories. First I want to go over repositories. Repositories are um, pointers, if you will, to storage. Okay, so if you are connecting to a SQL database, let's say, your repository would be your connector to the database. And your interface would be your routines that interface to that repository to the database. And then your main application will call those interfaces, and the interfaces will then call the repository will get the data, and everything will come back to the client. If that doesn't make 100% sense, it'll make much more sense once we get into the code here, but I just want to give a background of what we're looking at. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to make two new classes, or actually one class, one interface. First let's make a class, and we will call it the employee repository. Okay, and then I'm going to add another item. Instead of class, you do item. Make sure you're on Visual C Sharp and then click interface. And usually interface starts with an I. You'll see this a lot when you just start doing WCF web services, which I will get into in other tutorials. But so since we're going to be this interface is going to hook to the employee repository class, we're going to call it the I employee repository. Okay, and that across pretty much any programming language, I stands for interface. So now we have our interface here, which is great. So first thing we're going to do here is we're going to make a couple of routines. So let's do void list. Actually, instead of void, let's do list employee get data. And you'll notice that that actually is a routine we already have somewhere. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, within the employee repository class, I'm going to have it inherit by using the colon here. That tells my class that I'm going to inherit another type. See how it says type, or class, or base class, which is still a class, but just to give you an example, you might see certain things. I'm not sure if WPF allows. Yes. So right here with your main window, you are actually inheriting the window class, which comes with a whole bunch of different controls and tools. Okay, which are probably also have interface hooks and all that good stuff. So if we go back here, we can do I employee repository. Now what you're going to see very interestingly is, let's say we click off of here, okay, and we try to build this. This is one of the nice pieces about an interface. You see how it says that it does not implement interface member C# blah 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 dot get data? What that is saying is that you're inheriting this class, your repository class is inheriting this interface, but it does not have the routine that you need in there for it to inherit. So this is a really nice way to, if you're trying to design in your head and you don't have a whiteboard in front of you, one way I use interfaces nicely is to build out all my routines, and then within Visual Studio, the class that you inherit will let you know, hey stupid, you didn't add this routine, and then before you even get anywhere that it's not going to compile. One nice little feature with interfaces in Visual Studio 2010, I'm not sure if 2008 did it or not, but you can click, you click within the interface itself that you inherited, and then hover over and click on this. There's an implement interface, and if you click on that, it'll make the stub routine for you there, and it's throwing a non-implemented exception, but it gives you your skeleton routine here. which is great. So what we're going to actually do here is I'm going to get rid of this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my old employee class, and I'm going to take this little routine that's making our database, and I'm going to put it where it really belongs, which is in the repository. Now, keep in mind, okay, that normally your get repository, really what's really going to happen, so actually, you know what, I'm going to take that back. What we're going to do here is we're going to actually do it the way you would do it. I'm making this routine right here that's get data, okay, but what this get data class is going to be is that's going to be like let's say that was your actual SQL database, okay, and what we're going to do here is use this routine, this get data, to actually call this guy. Okay, so let's change this to get employees, or actually no, you know what, let's keep it a get data, and what we're going to do here is we're going to rename this to get employees. Okay, and let me just Control C, and we'll go over here, and we'll paste that back in here. Okay, and the only thing we should have to do here is do a list, list employees equals new list employee, and actually this should really be employee list, it's better. Okay, and then return employee list, like that. Okay, so let's see what we got going on here. Okay, my guess would be is I just need to rebuild this guy because it's still saying that my implementation, let's see, does not contain a definition for get data, no extension method, blah blah blah. Are you missing an assembly reference? Okay, oh, this guy. Alright, so what we're going to do here is we're going to actually comment that out for right now. Okay, so what we've accomplished so far, just to recap, is we made our get employees interface routine. We've made our employee repository, and this routine is what is linked to the interface. And we have our get data routine here, which is basically like, we'll pretend that that's our store procedure into the SQL server. Okay, so now what we're going to do here is we're going to do get data, and this is going to be employee list. Okay, now it may seem a little redundant right now, but what you're allowing yourself to do here is start abstracting things out. And that's the biggest thing with object orientation, is that you're able to abstract things to the nth level. And this really allows you to start abstracting things so that, you know, whenever you have try or catches around things and all that, which I'll go over in other tutorials, you'll find that your debugging becomes much simpler, because you'll know that when you get to this routine, okay, I know that my get data is going to be called within here, so there's not much going on here. But I'll know that, okay, if it's failing within that, you know, if it's failing in the repository class, it is most likely within the actual get data routine. So the more you abstract out, the better off you are from a debugging standpoint. So now we have this whole deal going, okay? Now what you'll notice here is that the interface is not public, and the repository is also not public. This helps a lot in when you abstract these out into class libraries, because you can make the interface public and not, public facing, and not make the repository class public, so that you are forcing that person, they won't be able to do the .get data. They'll have to do the employee repository, or the get employees, and all they'll know is get employees. Now you might ask yourself, well, why is that so important? Well, let's say that you have this application, right, and you had a static database just like this, just a whole bunch of information. Let's say it was a drop-down, that you statically assigned. Now your boss says, well, you know what, I want you to put that in a table name list pair in a table, and I want you to call SQL. Well, this routine doesn't call SQL right now. Normally, if you don't abstract it out, you have to change the whole link structure of, from each routine, and you may have to rename it or do this or that, and then by the time you get to your main window, all of a sudden you have to change all this information. With this done, now you have this get employees that your other engineers will use, and they don't need to care about get data. So you can change this to whatever you want. You can have it do 10 different things and jump through hoops and stand on its head. And as far as the people doing the main script is concerned, they're just doing get employees. That's all they care about. That's all they need to ever know. You'll notice that web services really are going off of this technique. So, and then I'll go over that in other tutorials. I don't want to stip too much on too many things at one time, more for time than anything else on the video. So, with that said, so now we have our repository. So now what we can do is we can make our iEmployee repository. Okay, employee interface. Oops, interface equals new, and then we can do employee repository. Oops, employee repository, like that. Okay, and then what I'm able to do, so what I'm doing is I'm instantiating a repository and using employee repository. Now you might be asking, why would you do this? Well, here's the deal. The other cool thing about the using an interface is the interface. We could make another routine here called void test, right? Like that. And this routine right here can be off of using some other repository of some sort. You can do that. You can link different routines within the interface, which is really cool because it allows you to only give your fellow engineers, again, one set of rules or one set of routines, and they don't have to care what other repository it comes from or goes to. It doesn't make a difference to them. So anyway, with that said, so if we go back here, now we do employee interface dot, and now you'll see you have a get. We don't have any get data. We just have get employees. Okay, and what we'll do here is we're going to change. Let's just copy this right here, and let's see. Get employees. Actually, what we're going to do here is we commented that out. So what we can do instead of copying anything is do employee list equals. Okay, so we're doing the exact same thing that we did up here, only instead of using get data, we're using get employees, which is part of the interface. So now if we run this guy, we should get exactly the same thing. Look at that. Exactly the same stuff. Perfect. So that concludes interfaces. I hope this was informative. I hope everybody has a great day.